What's up? It's Tom. Happy postseason opening day. I'm going to get to my predictions for this postseason in just a moment here. But first, I want to talk about what it looks like you guys are rooting for this postseason. Put these polls out there of which teams in each league you're rooting for the most. Unfortunately, now that there's 6 teams, YouTube only lets me put 5 options, so I had to exclude a team. I figured, knowing my my channel base, I figured the Yankees probably wouldn't have too much support, so I excluded them in the AL. And here you can see how it broke down. Overwhelmingly, the Seattle Mariners were the choice by you guys, with Toronto coming in a very distant second in the American League. And same idea, but moving over to the National League. And here I decided to exclude the Dodgers. As the front runner, I just sort of picked them by default. Nothing really personal against them, but you guys went with the St. Louis Cardinals at 45%, the Mets at 18%, and the Braves at 15%. I agree with the Mariners one. That's the team I'm rooting for in the AL, but in the NL, I am pulling for the Mets. We've got some Twins ties there with Eduardo Escobar and Trevor May. There may be some others, but I think that's a fun team. It's an interesting organization. It's a fan base that I think deserves some winning, just to some extent. But let's get to my predictions. All right, now I'm going to put this through the little bracket challenge here MLB.com is doing. Just for full disclosure, I'm not putting any money on any of these games. I would advise you not to as well. The MLB postseason is chaotic and very difficult to predict. So, I mean, if you're going to try to make money, I would say, if you're just trying to have some extra fun and put some skin for yourself in the games, by all means. But and that's the thing too. When I put this through, I'm not saying I think these teams are better than these teams. I think the regular season in MLB is very indicative of talent. So if you were just to ask me to go through and pick the teams that I think are better, it's going to be very boring. I'm only going to pick the high seeds basically throughout this whole thing. Some people really don't like that about the MLB postseason, is that this isn't the best way to find the best team. I'll be completely honest. Personally, I think that's more of a feature than a bug, really. Especially after last year's very chaotic postseason in which Atlanta, a huge underdog in the NL, not only comes out of the NL but wins the World Series. I really enjoyed that. I think it's fun. Anything can happen. Any of these teams can beat any of these other teams, really. So that's why this is fun. But let's go through here. I am going to go with Seattle to get past the Blue Jays. But Toronto's been playing some really good baseball, a great team. A team that had very high expectations entering this year. And on the other side, Tampa's a dangerous club. They've got good pitching, but they haven't been playing real well of late. And just don't jump out to me. They have the experience factor for sure on Cleveland, but I'm picking the Guardians to advance out of the first round here, get by Tampa Bay. On the NL side, we've got the Mets and the Padres. The Padres are a sneaky team, I think. Juan Soto and especially Josh Bell did not do what they were hoping for after that trade, that monster trade. But again, I'm kind of pulling for the Mets, and I think they'll get by them here. And then moving on to this last wild card round series. It's nice that the Phillies are in. I'm happy for that fan base, but I do think the Cardinals are quite a bit better of a team and will advance there. Not that that's always what it comes down to in the postseason. So moving on to the divisional series round, Astros Mariners, and I think, man, the Astros are such a great team. Really, top to bottom, it's hard to find anything to be too concerned about with them. I think they will move past Seattle. These divisional matchups in the postseason, though, often go the way you're not expecting. Speaking of going the way you're not expecting, I am advancing the Guardians past the Yankees. The Yankees, they were incredible earlier this year. They looked like a super team, and they've been like a 500 team in the second half. Now, sometimes that doesn't really matter. Teams that fizzle out in the regular season somehow find a second gear. But there's just so much more pressure on the Yankees than there is the Guardians. And they're one of those young teams that comes through and is like too dumb to know that they're, not supposed to do things, or like They're playing with house money. I think that's a very powerful thing. When you get to pro sports, all these guys are really talented. And I think they're just going to play loose and find a way to get past the Yankees. A team that's more talented than them, definitely. I'm not saying that, but and that's a good segue to this next one. I think you could say the same thing about the Dodgers and the Mets. I'm picking the Mets to get by the Dodgers. Just a remarkable team, 111 wins. But, it seems like year in and year out, we're talking about how good the Dodgers are, how amazing. I mean, they have a roster full of all-stars, basically. But I do think this Mets team is going to find a way to get by them. And then down in this bottom series, although St. Louis is playing good ball, Atlanta is really coming into their own of late in particular and looking like they're poised for another run. So we are in the championship series. And again, I'm just very impressed with the Astros. I think they beat Cleveland to advance to the World Series. And then in the National League, I'm going to go with the Mets going all the way. I know the Braves really took it to them, especially in the last season series they had. But again, some of these divisional rivalries coming into the postseason play can be weird. So I am going to go with that weirdness and say the Mets will advance past the Braves. So we're going to get a Mets-Astros World Series. And I think the Astros are going to be World Series champions. That is my pick. I just think it's a very complete team. It's a very postseason experienced team, with guys like Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, Alvarez, their whole pitching staff, their bullpen. It's a dangerous club. You could say that about a lot of teams I know, and I think you're kind of flipping a coin at a certain point. But I'm going with Houston here. What do you think? Who are your picks? Thanks for checking this out. Excited to get into watching the games today. I love the postseason. We'll talk again soon.